Welcome everyone to episode 75 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and this is a very special podcast. It definitely this is a guy who I've known really since we were kids. Like it's pretty wild to see this guy's career, the way it's taken off. But yeah, this is a guy I've wanted to have on my podcast for a while. I mean, like I've started doing this, a couple years ago, just as like kind of a fun thing to do. I didn't really expect it to go anywhere. This is a guy who's not only been on podcasts, but he has his own Sirius XM radio show. He's a stand-up comic, an actor. He's a writer. I'm just going through some of the credits he's got here. Currently he's the host of Ian's Infinite Playlist, which airs every week on Sirius XM radio. I've actually seen a clip of him on the TV show called The Last OG on TBS with Tracy Morgan. Hilarious, scene this guy was in. He was a writer on the show Crank Yankers on Comedy Central. He was featured on This Week at the Comedy Cellar on Comedy Central. He regularly performs at the world famous Comedy Cellar in Brooklyn. He lives in Brooklyn. Is the Comedy Cellar, is that in Brooklyn as well?
No, Comedy Cellar's in West Village, in Greenwich Village. I mean,
being a comedy fan, of guys like Colin Quinn and Jim Norton and all these other stuff, like I've always heard stories about the Comedy Cellar and everything. So that's a really legendary venue. So it's pretty cool that he's like a regular there.
Yeah, thanks.
But
man.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. This is a guy who not only is he doing all this stuff, but he's a guy who I knew when we were children, when we were in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. We were classmates together.
Yeah.
And because most of you guys know that I'm from Pennsylvania and went to school in Wilmington, Delaware for a little bit. And it's crazy all the people who I either know personally or have known like through friends of friends or like people my sister have known who have gone on to do like big things in show business. I think of like Aubrey Plaza for one thing, who got Parks and Recreation. She went to the same high school as my sister did, and I actually know people who are personal friends with her. There's another guy, John Gallagher Jr., who's a Tony Award-winning actor. I was actually in a play with this guy when we were kids, and I mean, yeah. And now we have the current president of the United States, who also happens to be from Wilmington. Go figure that out.
Wild, man, yeah.
But this guy was a middle school buddy of mine, and we reconnected a couple years ago, and I've been following his career, like I mentioned. And I'm psyched that he took the time to be on my show, man. Please welcome Ian Fidance.
Hey, all right. Thanks so much for having me, Jack. I really appreciate it. This is really fun.
Thank you, man. Like I said, like I've been watching your career for the last couple of years, and just like seeing you on like Jim Norton and Sam Roberts and stuff like that, and just seeing like, clips of, of your stand-up over the years, and being a fan of comedy myself, I've always admired what you guys do and what it takes to go on stage. And I mean, look, I've played in bands for years, but I'm used to having a bunch of other guys on stage with me. It's just you and the mic and okay, make me laugh. And like you guys get up there and do it. And definitely takes a level of almost being more vulnerable on stage than most people realize. And that's something I really admire you and every other stand-up comic who does their thing.
I appreciate that, man. That's very kind of you. Yeah, it's weird. I've gotten in trouble in relationships because I can be more vulnerable on stage than I can in an intimate setting, and that's something I'm definitely, working out. And it's a thing of like, it's so funny you mentioned that because, I wish I was a musician. It's like I feel like comics wish they were musicians and musicians wish they were comics.
Yeah, I've heard that before. And I remember when we were kids, I remember you did play guitar a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you play guitar or bass? I forget.
I played guitar. I was in a classic rock cover band with Randon Ireson, Justin Farinola, Fred Catalano, and then we like broke up over the summer going into high school, and then I joined a ska band, and I was in a ska band all throughout high school. And matter of fact, me and the ska band have been talking. We're re-releasing our music tomorrow on Spotify and iTunes and everything. Yeah, so we're like super excited. Right? Sock full of pennies. You got it, brother.
I had heard about that ska. Was Ben Sleece in that band?
Yes, the trumpet player.
Yeah, my sister was a friend of his.
Okay, that's awesome. What a small little Delaware circle.
It really is. I mean, yeah, it goes without saying. It's a small state in particular, but
it is, yeah.
But when I hear stuff like, my father knew Joe Biden's sister.
Wild.
I forget
Wild.
in what capacity, like professionally, but I think President Biden's niece might have played against my sister because she went to Archmere. She was like around the same age, and my sister played lacrosse at Ursuline.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's so I mean it's like kind of weird like indirectly to see how all this stuff
Yeah.
happens, but
I know it's wild, man, and it's like you go home, you go to the Wawa, and it's a high school reunion, So
pretty
it's
much
just it's and I try to bring a bit of Delaware to wherever I go, just like the one thing I love about Delaware is you do know everyone, so it is like a friendly thing, and if you don't know someone, you know them like once, twice removed. So I like to make friends wherever I go and just feel like I have like a little community in whatever area I'm in. I know like all my little shopkeepers and everything, and I just like to feel like Delaware's always going to be a part of me, so I like to bring it with me wherever I go.
yeah, man, yeah, you don't forget where you came from, so it's yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's definitely a part of it. I love how you mentioned give a shout out to Justin and Randon and Freddie. Those were all
yeah,
guys that were classmates of ours back
yeah,
in back when we were kids. So
yeah, yeah. We've all been to each other's weddings, and we're in a group chat. And we've
that's rad that you
this.
guys still all keep in touch and all that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool
I mean, it's wild, man. Thinking I've been buds with those guys for so long, and I love them. They're the closest thing I've ever had to brothers.
for
I'm
sure,
I'm an
man.
only
That's
child,
awesome.
so yeah, yeah. It's great, man.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm glad that we got the chance to, for everything people say about social media, I think one of the good things is that like you and I were able to reconnect like almost 20 years ago when like Facebook first became a thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think maybe we had like mutual friends. I don't know how it was, but but I was glad that we got back in touch with each other because I know when we were at the school that we went to, I had left. It wasn't on great terms. I had left the school.
yeah.
It wasn't on great terms. I mean, like a lot of kids that age, I was going through a lot of stuff and just
Oh
it
yeah,
was certainly a dark time, and I think it is for a lot of kids, especially at that
totally.
age. When you're making when you're going through all that. But like
Totally. It's especially coming in from other schools and it's like all boys, so much testosterone. You got one kid who's fully blown through his puberty already.
right,
He's got to shave again by fifth period, and you're like,
right.
what is going on? Then
It's
other
like,
kids, their balls
but
haven't dropped yet.
why does this sixth grader have a full mustache? Like that's
I
weird.
know, I know. I think we're thinking about the same guy. And yeah, I
I
totally
mean,
agree,
that could
man.
be
It's
one
a
of
tough
several
time.
guys. That was always a weird thing because the school we went to was an all boys private Catholic school,
Yeah.
and that's such a weird thing I notice now because I know that school is still around, but like I imagine it's different than like because like my parents they both went to like same sex schools when they were kids growing up, and I feel like back then it was a little bit more normal. I mean, it's still a private school, but like I'm trying to think of a way to say this, but like I don't, it's an odd thing to still have those types of schools that are separated like
Yeah.
boys only and girls only, especially nowadays when everyone is so like we're in a world where everyone is more professionally
Integrated and
integrated. Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not that things weren't like when our parents were young, but like still it's even more so now. You have more female CEOs and more. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like that's, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily like a good thing for kids to be kind of separated like that at that age.
No, I don't think so. And I think also it's a thing too of like, again, back to the I think integration with gender, race, background, class from birth is the way to go. You need to be integrated. You need to see other people with other experiences. You gain more empathy, you gain more understanding, and I
Sure.
think shielding boys away from girls and girls away from boys leads to a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge and a lack of just kind of, I know guys that went to all boys schools from grade school to high school, and then their interactions with women are so fucked up
Yeah.
because they're like meeting girls for the first time at like 17. You're like, what? How is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was the same way when I switched schools after that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it took me a while to kind of get used to that. But it's,
Totally. You need that interaction. You need that experience of other people's lives. You got to go to other
absolutely.
people's house and smell their family's cooking, so you don't think
Yeah,
the first night
and not that I'm trying,
food.
and not that I'm trying to bash that school that we went to, because like I understand why my parents sent me there, because like
Yeah.
academically it was an amazing school. Like I remember
Yeah.
learning stuff about like Greek mythology and stuff in like
Yeah.
fifth and sixth grade, which I'm like, this is cool, and
Yeah.
just like all these kinds of things that I probably might not have been exposed to anywhere else. But like, that's kind of again, that's kind of the back and forth of it. And I've talked to other guys like who were in our class, like growing up there, and they would agree with me, like, yeah, like stuff got weird there, like real quick.
Yeah. And I think, again, it goes back to that thing that we're all like progressing at a certain pace, and it's just so much insecurity and hostility, and like, especially just even the idea of like wearing the same uniform every day, having to behave in a certain way. It's just very like rigid for, I feel like, how children should grow up and experience the world. When you put a bunch of boys together, they're going to fight, they're going to be whatever. And I mean, I know that I know it was a hard time for you, and I went through a hard time as well. And I had to, I was very much picked on a lot, and it was a very, it's easy to get into a bad spot when you're that age.
Absolutely.
And, I know that's how we reconnected. We kind of bonded over that, and, very much made like this weird like bridge crossing ceremony that we had in the reconnection, and I think for everything people say about social media, it is good because, the interactions you have as a kid and everything kind of come up in like your Facebook feed and like whatever, and you go, oh, I remember that, And I was just talking to a friend today who he had the funniest joke. He had a tweet that went viral. He took a picture of OJ getting the vaccine, and he was like, this guy's out living his best life every day, and I stay up at night reliving interactions I went through in high school. And it's like, especially because the Facebook thing, it's like, remember this day in 2012 when you embarrassingly made this status update? It's like, get out of my head. We should, on the one hand, it's nice to reconnect. On the other, it's like, we shouldn't remember every interaction we've ever had.
Oh my God. I'm so glad Facebook wasn't around when we were in junior high. Like,
oh, dude, I wrote poetry. I would have put it online. I would have gotten gay bashed, It would have been like a whole ordeal, Just like thinking that I'm writing like beautiful lyrics and it's just like the most trite things ever, Just like at 11.
And I ain't going to name any names, but like, I mean, I know a lot of dudes in bands who will like post stuff like lyrics and everything, and I'm just like, don't do that, dude. But like, it's all good, like, because they'll get like 50 more followers and stuff. I'm like, oh well,
yeah,
shit, maybe I need to be doing this. Like, what?
Right? Yeah. I mean, Throwback Thursday is a whole thing of everyone wants to see. I think you can look back and laugh now. I think there's been enough time of like, what a silly kid I was. This thing I thought was
we all go through that.
Yeah, totally.
And it's weird how it's like, you look at guys like you and me who have like taken that and kind of used it as fuel for like whatever artistic endeavors we might have to do, whether it's music or comedy or whatever it might be. And that's one of the reasons why I almost get a little nervous, especially if I talk to any of my friends who are comedians or whatnot, because it's like, I just want to let them know, it's like, hey, like, look, don't get me wrong. I love your comedy. I'm still taking you seriously as a person, though, because I feel like that's got to be the one of the double-edged swords of being a comedian, is that like people expect you to be on all the time. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true or not for you, but like, I mean, God bless him. Look at like what happened to Robin Williams, or even guys like Richard Jeni and other things. Like, it's almost that like sad clown. Condition or whatever. So it's I mean, I know you've certainly tackled a lot of personal stuff in your comedy over the years. Mm-hmm. Do you find that to be like more therapeutic or than anything else? Or,
I mean, well, it is, but it's so funny. My brain is so diseased with comedy where like, I can't. So, I mean, I obviously know how to turn it off, and I very much obviously can be very serious and introspective and like a listener and someone that can be there for other people. But like when I'm with my friends walking down the street, sometimes my autism kicks into high gear and I'm just like making puns at everything. You're like, joke. And I have to, thank God I have the self-awareness to be like, sorry,
Yeah.
But it's like if a friend is telling me, that I was on a podcast last night with two friends and, I was like pontificating about something serious, and I was talking about the comedy industry. I was like, but it's like in this business, you have to, and my buddy was like, comics can never say anything seriously. You'll be like, and my mom has stage 4 cancer, and I don't think she's going to make it. And like, we just laughed so hard, It's
like, you really got to add a silly voice to that. Like,
I know. But again, it's a sign of, if you take a step back, that comes out through insecurity, not being confident enough to just say something, you know, and I very much know when to turn it off and everything, but it does poison your brain because you're always looking for that angle. You're always looking for the other side. You're always looking for like, how can I funny this up? How can I take this thing, you know, and I very much have a thing of like, you know, tragedy plus time equals comedy, which is very true. I never think that like something bad happens, you should immediately make jokes. But, you know, I did get in trouble as a kid for trying to turn bad situations funny because that was like a coping mechanism. You know? But
yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know, I definitely think that, you know, things take time and you shouldn't joke immediately after things. And if you do, it should be in the context of, you know, the people you're with are of that same vein of humor. Read the room, totally. And never get mad if someone is like too soon. I mean, like, you know, sometimes people can be like too soon if it's even like long period. Like even if you make a joke about 9/11 now, some people still get butthurt, and it's like, all right, well, fucking relax, okay, you know. But
we're not saying we approve of 9/11. Like
totally. But I mean, if
like,
on
we
the
remember
first day,
it too.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's like the day of the George Floyd riots and you're making like a fucking I can't breathe joke, it's like, read the fucking room, dude. Like, maybe try it out in fucking like, you know, 2021, but like now just shut up. You don't gotta do this right now, you know?
Right.
But I think, you know, I think it's different for everyone. Some people may disagree, and if you disagree with that, that's your prerogative. That's fine, you know. But I think, you know, it's like, I don't know. I definitely think a gift of it is being able to make people laugh in situations where they're hurting or upset, and I know that that's a very much a thing I needed in my life when I was younger, and that I can do that to others is something I can appreciate and I'm grateful for.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think, you know, done the right way, you know, certainly whether comedy or music, that it can be very therapeutic.
Yeah.
It can be a way of sort of exercising whatever demons are there on stage, and then bringing joy to people in the process. One of the bits I loved best that you know was the stolen valor bit at the department store.
Yeah, thanks.
On the Jim and Sam show, that was brilliant. I thought.
Yeah, thanks, man. Matter of fact, I just had on my radio show, I just had Sam Roberts on, and next week is the Jim Norton episode.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I got them on, but those guys have been so good to me, man, and I'm just so grateful for so many people that have really kind of taken me under their wing and like, you know.
For sure. Norton is a genius. Like I found out about him and a lot of these guys when Tough Crowd was on. I love that show so much.
Me too. It's such a mind fuck to have come up on Tough Crowd and Opie and Anthony and, you know, hold these guys in such esteem. And then now I work with them every night. They're my friends. I go to their house for dinner, and it's like, what the fuck life am I living? This is insane to me. You know, used to drive around the car to listen to these guys on the radio, and then now it's, you know, it's just a wild thing. And I just I try to keep that, you know, gratitude in it, so I don't think I'm like, you know, too big for the britches or whatever.
I mean,
records himself yelling at strangers.
Yeah, I saw the clip of you on Tracy Morgan's show, that was hilarious. Michelle Obama.
Oh, dude, that was so cool. They let me improvise all that. That was like, it was awesome.
I mean, do you get starstruck at all, like working with these guys, or is just, you know, because you've been doing this for as long as you have, or do you still like get those moments from time to time?
No, I don't, because it's like, you know, people get so it's a weird thing when you get starstruck, because then you're looked at as like in a different light, as in just like, we're two humans that are here, we're working together. That's what this is, you know. And I know that I would be weirded out if somebody treated me a different way rather than being just a human, so I wouldn't want to do that to someone else.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to make people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, but if I was like, you know, on a set with like Rod Stewart or something, I don't know if I could like. I mean, I've been in situations where things have happened where very much I'm like, oh, hey, cool, nice to meet you, man, awesome, cool, and then like in my head I'm like, oh my god, I can't fucking believe it. But you know, you gotta like keep your composure, because you don't want to like weird someone out, and then like, especially on like a movie or TV set, you can't be that guy that's like, they were telling me that some guy got kicked off a set because in between takes he was like, Mr. Morgan, can we get a selfie? And he literally, like, bouncers came and whisked him away and were like, you're not allowed on set, you know what I mean? So it's like, you gotta have decorum, and you got to be self-aware enough to know
Of
like you
course,
don't
yeah.
do that stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, because I imagine, I mean, anytime I've met like some cat who was famous, I'd be like, oh man, I love your stuff, but I try not to be like, do you live in a big house?
Yeah. And everyone wants to be buttered up. Everyone wants to hear a compliment. You want to know
Yeah,
that, the work you've been doing is not falling upon deaf ears, So it
of
is nice to
course.
be like, oh man, I really loved your special, or oh, your album is great, and then you keep it moving. You know what I mean? It's like you say it, you keep it
Yeah,
moving.
yeah,
You don't like
exactly.
dwell on it. You know what I mean? Like, can I have a guitar pick? And they're like,
Oh,
buddy,
totally.
keep it and never talk to me again. You know?
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, because like me and my band a couple years ago, we went through a thing where we opened for Steel Panther when they came down here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was like the biggest show I have ever done.
Oh,
It
I
was
can
at
imagine. Yeah.
it was at this theater called the Plaza in Orlando, and it was like 1,000 people. And yeah, they invited us to like their dressing room backstage, and we were just kind of hanging out, and like I saw like Scott Phillips from Alter Bridge and Creed. He was in the audience as well, so I like got to talk to him, and the whole time we're me and like my guitarist, we were sitting around. I was like, okay, are we staying too long? Are we lingering?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't want to be those guys.
Right. I know. And dude, so many people get high and fucked up, and then they like act out. Then the next day they're like, "Did I do the wrong thing?" I don't know if you drink or not, but it's like, I also have friends that smoke a ton of weed,
Hmm.
and in those situations they're like, "Am I here too long? Should I leave? Should I?" And it's like, no, you're just high. Just relax. You're being cool. Just
You're
fucking
just
don't open
paranoid.
your mouth. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're just a Black Sabbath song. Chill out.
exactly. Ah, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's cool, man. I know. Did I read this right? One of your first stand-up album debuted at #1 on the iTunes comedy charts. That's dope,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
cool. I beat out Weird Al for the day. It was it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat, man. It was cool. And I have a lot of friends that my buddy just put out an album. It's been #1 for like a week, and it's so cool to see, you make something and see people like it, and it's, because you make so many things, it just goes out into the ether, like
Yeah.
with auditions and like writing packets, and you never hear anything back. So to do something and have it be recognized is like, all right, cool. This is like the right way to go. I'm doing all right, So
It's nice to have that validation when you
yeah,
reach a certain point, you get those
yeah,
and you get those things. It's like, all right, I can check this off,
yeah.
and
Yeah, but
that's
it's
super
also
cool.
about too like not living for the validation, because I can get caught up in that as well. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, oh absolutely.
not enough people like this, so I have no value, and it's like, just fucking go for a walk, chill out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, and especially nowadays where feedback is so instant.
I
It's
know,
everywhere, and people are just
I
going to
know,
say things that they normally would never say to your face.
I know,
I
I
mean,
know.
I don't know if you've worked with him, but like just ask Dane Cook, for example. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, geez, the stuff that guy went through. But I mean, shifting gears here a little bit, I know I had followed your career for a couple of years, and just over social media, just keeping tabs. Like, hey man, what's Ian up to? I'm like, oh, rad, he's on TV,
Oh yeah.
and that's really cool. But like, now before doing comedy full time, were you a school teacher?
I taught for a little bit. Yeah, I actually subbed at the grade school we went to for a little bit, which was
No kidding.
wild. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The gym teacher was like, "You want to get a beer?" And I still was like, "Mister whatever." Like,
Yeah,
no, like I was still calling the people like Mister whatever and like brother
yeah,
this and
yeah.
that. So that was like a head trip, man. Going
I'll
back
bet.
there, dealing with those fucking brats. And yeah, I mean, I've had a million jobs in the book just to make this work, and it's just, how it is. You do whatever you can during the day so you can do your thing at night. You've kept up with music this whole time. That's so rad.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, look, I never made it big or anything, never got a record deal, but like, I have my job during the day, and I've got a wife and 2 kids now, so I've got to make sure that's taken care of. But like,
Yeah.
I still like to do it as much as I can. I'll probably be one of those old guys you see at a beach bar, just doing
Yeah, that's
acoustic
great,
shows
man. You got to do something you love, no matter what
for
doing it
sure.
is defined
And the
as.
podcast thing happens. I've even dabbled in acting a little bit when I can. I mean, just
Nice.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
mainly before I had kids, because we live near Full Sail University, which is like this big, it's this big like creative arts. I guess it's a college, really. They call it a university, but it's not like really a university.
Yeah.
But like where people go for like film school and TV production and stuff. And a lot of times they'll have, independent like student films, and like I'll do stuff, and they'll
Oh,
meet people
cool.
there, and then they'll be like, hey, can we shoot a music video for you? So it all works out.
Oh, that's great, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I've had a, I've been very lucky to been able to do the stuff I can, but
Yeah.
and so I mean, that's the great thing. It's like, when you find something that you're really passionate about, and you find a way to make it happen, kind of
Yeah.
like what you've done, and the fact that you've been able to parlay that into writing for Crank Yankers, which is wild to me. Like,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and some of the TV and the movie projects. I see, like, you were in this movie called Motherstruck, which was at Tribeca.
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, I was supposed to. The Tribeca Film Festival was happening right when COVID hit, so I, had like a suit and everything for the festival and was so excited, and then it
Oh
just
man.
like boop gone.
Yeah. I
And
was going to ask you about that because obviously as we record this, it's February of 2021. COVID's still going on. Hopefully by the time people hear this, you never know. I mean, whenever they might hear this, it might be in the
yeah,
future. But yeah, I mean, I know that had to have been a blow, especially being a stand-up and being touring, and like
yeah.
that has to be such a mind fuck. Like I even, I can't even imagine what that's got to feel like, especially if that's your bread and butter. But also, but like I saw this special that Colin Quinn did on HBO Max, where it was
Yeah.
like a
With the
drive-in.
cars.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you saw that one too?
I mean, dude, I've done it. I performed at RFK Stadium in front of 350 cars, and
Wow.
they are honking. You don't hear laughter, you hear honks. It's a
Yeah.
whole new fucking world. I do corporate Zoom gigs. I just did one sitting in this chair like 2 hours ago for a corporate office in San Francisco.
Okay.
Like it's just a weird world now, man. But yeah, I lost
Well,
everything.
yeah. I'm completely destitute.
Yeah. No, I'm doing fine now. But I mean, like all my future work and projects, the floor completely fell out. I was, touring. I was just I worked so hard to work up to a headliner to headline club weekends,
Yeah.
and all that went away. And, I was writing for a Netflix show, and that went out the window. And, all these acting projects just fucking gone. And, it really took me a while to just kind of accept it and move forward. I really kind of, I think a lot of people did too, it's and I got to find gratitude in it because I have friends that I don't have a family. I live alone. I have a cat. Thank God. I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a family that depends on me. So whatever I lost, for however detrimental and disastrous and whatever it was for me, like I'm so fortunate that I am in the position I am and that I didn't have so many other things that could have gone wrong. And it took me a while to kind of get through that, and it took what it took and I got where I got. And then, I've turned a corner. I got a lot of great things. I'm finally like accepting and feeling okay with like not being out every night till 2 a.m. working and, being on the road every weekend and, running around doing like 4 spots a night. And I mean, that was like my life. It was, that was really, I mean, I felt completely empty at night around 6 o'clock because that's when I would start to go to work,
Mhm.
and then to not be running around and like in the village and then working till 2 and then, what's going to happen and you're with your friends and you're here and you're there. And then it's like, wow, you go to bed at 11? What is this? I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to
Right.
just sit. I don't know how to be
Like
still,
you have to get into this whole new routine.
Totally. Totally.
And
It was so
yeah.
fucked. That was really, really hard. And, me and my friends are talking and we're just like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't
Yeah.
know how to just be, and
Yeah.
that's
No.
one thing I've learned is like, you're more than your job. You're more than this thing. This thing doesn't care about you. You need to learn how to be just to be, not be because,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely. And not for nothing. I do think that it will come back for stand-ups and for concerts and all this stuff. Eventually,
without a doubt,
it
without a
has to.
doubt. And it's going to come back bigger than ever. And people are going to be, even now, New York's the only place in the country that still continued to do comedy was the only form of entertainment throughout the whole entire summer. And the
Okay.
shows were
Yeah,
packed.
because Broadway was shut down, all that stuff.
No live music. It was comedy. It was in parks. It was on streets. It was on
Yeah.
rooftops. It was in the weirdest places. And they were packed. People there to laugh, have a good time. And when it comes back, it's going to come back tenfold. And I'm going to be here for it. It's just a matter of when, and thankfully I found stuff to bide my time with work-wise and everything until then. But it's going to come back and it's going to be great. The world will snap back.
I agree, man. Like human beings are social creatures by design. I mean, we weren't meant to wall ourselves off like this. Like we were meant to, have gatherings and things like that.
And at the same time, we weren't meant to communicate that we are now by just a screen and knowing everyone's thoughts. That's not healthy either,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that whole end of it, but I mean, even in terms of when people say, "Oh, this is the new normal," this is like I kind of cringe a little bit when people say that. Not not that I'm begrudging anyone for doing what they need to do and to take precautions and whatnot. It's but it's like, man, this can't be the new normal like forever. You know what I mean? Like, maybe now, but
I've never been normal, so I don't even know what the fuck normal is. So the new normal is like a whole fucking foreign concept to me. But
where was I for the old normal?
I know. I fucking nowhere to be found, buddy. And it's like, do what you gotta do to be safe. But to settle for this is life forever. I think we're more resilient than that. I think we're a better, the human race, for however faults and failings we have, and Bill Hicks said that we are a virus with shoes, and while that is true, we are a resilient race of people, and I think, humanity will bounce back. It'll just take a while, and I don't want to settle for this as normal forever.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's weird when I see people who are like weirdly okay with all this.
Yeah.
Then I start to look at them sideways. I'm like,
yeah, what? It's a coping mechanism. You got to accept whatever.
Oh yeah, everyone deals with it in whatever way they need to. Like, I'm not begrudging anyone for that,
Yeah, totally. But I mean, you're down there in the asshole of America. You're in Florida, and I also call Delaware the Florida of the North, so there's no judgment there. But you're in no mask country down there.
It's not true at all. Like, I mean, at least for me, like, I mean, yeah, we're still able to go to like grocery stores and stuff, but like I haven't seen anyone like walking around without masks.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, I haven't bumped into too many people. I think maybe occasionally I'll see like one person who might have it on like halfway or something. But like every one of my friends out of state is always like, oh my God, Jack, what is going on in Florida with all you guys? You guys are crazy. And
I know.
I'm like, I've been home the whole time. Like, I don't know what's going on out there. I know what I've been doing.
Well,
I can't
speak
for anyone else.
I'm such a piece of shit. I judge Florida the same way people judge New York. Where like,
right.
They'll be like, I've seen Law and Order. I know how bad it is. And I would always be like, no, it's not. It's the safest, biggest city. And then now it's like very much Law and Order. So there is no Law and Order now.
And that's the crazy thing with Florida, because people are, and like my sister, who's never really lived down here, like she's always stayed up north. She lives in Rochester, New York now. But she'll be like, I never really got like what Florida was all about. Like you see the strip clubs out there and all this other stuff. I'm like, they don't have strip clubs in New York. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, but like, she'll like, every time you hear something crazy on the news, oh, it must have come from Florida and this and that. I'm like, well, think about it this way. Like, besides New York and California, like Florida, I think is either the third or fourth most populous state in the country. Everyone comes here to vacation or retire, and like so many people coming from all over the place. So yeah, like we have just a lot of people, period.
Yeah.
So like if you get a lot of people in one place, then you're going to have a bigger percentage of crazy people.
Well, that's why New York, there's so many fucking oddballs here, because it's just so big and we're all crammed in together. And the old New York, I mean, look at Philly, all those wackadoos there. Any city is going to have lunatics. So
absolutely. So. It's always funny how people get so weird about like geography, I guess. Like, you guys are crazy in Florida. I'm like, have you been to my house? Like, I'm the most boring dude you're gonna find.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Speaking of family and whatnot, how's your mom doing? I saw that her birthday was
doing well. Yeah, man. Yeah, she's doing well. I get down there when I can. It's tough. I have to. With the quarantining and the testing. I get tested every other week anyway, just to be safe, before I go home and see her, I always quarantine. And then, with the travel regulations, I have to, quarantine when I get there and then test before I come back and then quarantine, then test again. So, it's a bit of a barrier, but I'm willing to do it just to see her. So thank you for asking. That was very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know how, I know how much you've always posted about her and how grateful you are for how supportive she's been to you and your career over the years. Has there been any like bits or any jokes you've told that she's been like, Ian, I don't want you to talk about this?
Oh yeah, I mean that was a huge issue for a while.
Yeah.
Like I don't like it when you blah blah blah, and I'm like, well then don't listen. It's my life, and I've kind of, I had to go
She didn't
through
like
that.
the bit about the front milk.
Yeah, no, she loved that. She's like, that's fine, but she, and I understand, I get it, and I think I was a bit cavalier years ago, thinking, I have to blah blah, but I've chilled out with that, and also I put up the boundary of like, hey, there's this thing I'm doing, and it's not for you. You're not my target audience, so please don't listen. And she respects that now, But for a while, it was like, I want to see everything my son's doing. I'm so proud. And then she'd hear it be like, why do you say those things? And I'm like, because I'm a filthy pervert with a heart of gold. I don't know what to tell you, lady.
Yeah,
all right?
yeah. I can't imagine, the glory hole escapades are going to be like talking about a Thanksgiving dinner. You don't want to bring that up.
No. But it is funny to see like our neighbors be like, funny video, Ian, and then see them when I'm taking out my mom's trash, and I'm like, hey, Miss Smith, how you doing?
You knew me when I was a kid. Oh boy.
What can you do? What can you do?
But that's cool. Congrats on the XM show, by the way, Ian's Infinite Playlist.
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit. It's about like it. Obviously, I'm guessing music is a big part of it, but I haven't heard any of the episodes yet. How would you describe the show? Like, what's it like?
I bring on my funniest friends and guests, and they give me 3 bands, and we, shoot the shit, talk about the bands, and at the end of the episode, like a human Pandora, I pick out a song I think they'll like based on the bands and who they are, and I play it for them. We see if they like it or not, and every week I make a playlist based off the episode. Cool. Yeah, it's really fun, man. It's really great. Music's such a big part of my life, and I really enjoy researching the bands and just, talking about music with my friends. It's really great.
That's a cool way of connecting because, like, if they come at you with something, hey, I like such and such, I like this band, and then that allows you to sort of deep dive into it and guess what they like about it, and then it's like that's a whole new way of like connecting to them on that level. That's right, man. That's super cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's out on Sirius every Friday, 1 p.m., and then it plays all week on demand on the app, channel 99. On Sirius XM radio, and then we're going to be releasing it as a podcast as well, probably mid to late February. And I also have another podcast on Thursdays on Gas Digital Network, available for iTunes on Tuesday, but it's every Thursday live, 11 a.m. called Bye Guys with me, like Zach Amico. So yeah, a lot of good things, man. Lots
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I saw the preview for Bye Guys, and I saw you and the other guy, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, is there like a different format to that one as opposed? Well, I mean, obviously it's not based on music necessarily, but like,
right. Well, like the Ian's Infinite Playlist is more of like, very much it's just 2 buddies hanging out in your living room talking about music wherever.
Yeah, it's more music centric.
Yeah, and it's more, like. Can be like serious, fun, introspective, whatever. But the Bye Guys is just all silly fun, and that's like the real like comics, just laughing and riffing and having a good time. And this other one's more of kind of like a niche type thing where I can be, more myself in a way, and I don't have to be on all the time, So I really like that.
Very cool. Like, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was more like topical or like just like free form or just what it's going to be, whatever it's going to be. But that's
we
sometimes
like
that's liberating it in and of itself, not to necessarily be confined to one format.
Totally. We really have fun. We just talk about whatever, and we have like some game segments, and then like there might be news stories we'll get to, and if not, it's no big deal. But it's it's great. New York is a mecca for comedy, and our comics are better than anywhere in the world. Fuck LA. Fuck anywhere else. New York is a place, and it's just so great to have so many comics in there. So funny, and I get to professionally hang out for a living. It's fucking crazy, It's fucking awesome, man.
Very cool. You got any big names coming up as far as guests that you could talk about yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I next week it'll be Jim Norton on the podcast, and then Dan Soder after that, and.
He does the best Macho Man, I'll tell you that.
yeah, he's the best, man. And I'm gonna have Gail and Ron Bennington on from the Bennington Show, and a lot of people in the can that we've recorded that I can't say, and that's why you got to subscribe and listen to find out, baby.
All right, man. Yeah, I'll always keep them guessing. I love it.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Yeah, Ian, this is super cool, man. Like I feel like we could talk for hours about shit that we went
Yeah,
through when we were
yeah,
kids and whatnot. But like I'm super glad that you came on my show, and I definitely love to have you back on one of these days.
yeah.
Whether because I've been branching out doing like album reviews or movie reviews or like even old school wrestling shows. Like
Oh, nice.
most recently, I did a commentary thing for the movie No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan. Came out in
Yes,
1989.
yes.
Me and a
Oh,
bunch
that's
of
great.
buddies of mine did something like that, following through
That's
that, and it's just
awesome.
like,
Yeah, dude, that's so fun, man. I grew up loving wrestling and meat, so I also twitch.
yeah, working with Sam Roberts, he's on WWE all the
Yes.
time.
Yep, he's on WWE Network, so him and I geek out about wrestling, and I Twitch stream as well. And me and my friends one night a week will watch AEW wrestling, and then we'll talk about it on a Twitch
No
stream, and
kidding.
that's really fun too. And yeah, it's a great, man. We were talking about me, whatever, but it's really cool to be able to do something you love your whole life, play music, have fun with it, have the things you've had done, you've created so much, and to have a family while doing it. I really admire that. And,
Thank you,
I
man.
really think that's really awesome, man. And it seems like you're happy, and I wish nothing but that for you. And hearing you on the phone earlier, you might edit it, but with your wife, it was so cute. And I don't know, I just love, and it's just
Yeah,
so cool to see you be able to live your best life, man. So thank
thank
you
you,
for having
bro.
me on. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, man. But I mean, as far as you, are you single right now? Are you in a relationship or anything like that? Anything going on
Man,
there?
we don't got the time. We
Well,
we
it's fine.
found we
You
found
know,
better things to talk about.
it's all good, man. It's kind of like grass is greener on the other side. I'm like living vicariously through you. It's like,
I
oh,
know, I know. You're like, got any glory hole stories you can tell me? Come on, let's
it's like,
hear
bro,
it.
did you get laid this weekend? Like, what's up? Come on, I need this.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
yeah,
But
man. I mean, and all the stuff you're doing, I'm so proud of you, and all these cool projects and getting to work with people. Like I might not ever get on any big tours, but like I've had a pretty good career. But like I'm so glad to see you do all the stuff you're doing as well. Like that's dope.
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Just two Delaware boys make good, You,
Pretty
me, and
much,
Joe Biden.
right?
Yeah,
Joe. He
old
might be
school
he might be
Joe.
a little tougher to get on the show. Huh?
Maybe, I'll hang out at the Amtrak station in Wilmington, put in a word for you.
Good. Yeah, because we all know each other, as
Yeah,
has been established earlier.
perfect. Exactly. Well, thanks a lot, Jack.
Yeah, you bet, dude. Thanks once again to Ian Fidance, my my childhood friend, who's now like this up and coming comedian, actor, writer. He's got a lot of really cool stuff going on, like a really interesting life this guy has had. So it's great to talk with this guy. I mean, geez, probably the longest conversation I've had with this guy since we were kids, like talking over 20 years. So I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know how this conversation was going to go, but I'm really glad that I had it. And I'm really glad that he took the time to come on the show. I would love to have him back in some capacity. Who knows? But like, he's a really funny guy, really talented. Please check him out on Twitter at Ian Fidance and on Instagram at eanimal. I think Ian and animal kind of mixed together. His official website is ianfidance.com. I'll have all the links here in the description. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at jackxconnor. You can like me on Facebook at facebook.com/jackconnormusic. Also, feel free to check out both my bands, Vertebreaker, which is at Facebook, facebook.com/vertebreakerband, and Mature Musical Pictures at maturemusicalpictures.com. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, or you could tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. However you're listening to this, whether it's on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, leave a comment, go back and listen to all the other episodes. Thank you as always for tuning in. It's this podcast really meant a lot to me, and I'm glad that we could do it. Thanks again to Ian for coming on, and thank you guys for listening. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'll see you later.